The Washington Commanders have gone into Tampa Bay and gotten the upset in the wild card round of the 2025 NFL Playoffs. So the Lions know who they will face before the wild card round is over. Next weekend in the divisional round, it will be the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Washington Commanders just finished their game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They win on a last-second field goal. They are able to control the clock at the end of the game, set themselves up for a game-winning field goal there. Jaden Daniels is everything of a rookie sensation today, again in Tampa Bay on the road as a rookie in the wild card round of the playoffs against an experienced Bucs team. You got to give him a lot of credit. Jaden Daniels, 24 of 35, 268, 2 touchdowns. Also led their team in rushing, 13 carries for 36 yards on the ground. Terry McLaurin led the team in receiving, 7 receptions, 89 yards, and a score. Of course, Baker Mayfield was good in the effort as well, 15 of 18 for 185, 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving, 17 carries for 77 yards. And Mike Evans, 7 receptions, 92 yards, also had the touchdown. But the big story is the Washington Commanders in the wild card round of the playoffs here. Jaden Daniels leading the way. Tampa Bay had the unfortunate turnover. That was really their biggest blip on the game. It's really what flipped this thing. Washington able to control at the end of the game and cap this thing off. They now will head to Detroit in the divisional round and face the Lions in what should be a very interesting matchup in these 2025 NFL playoffs. My initial thoughts on this one is this is probably the best outcome that the Detroit Lions could have asked for in this wild card round. I personally did not want to face either the LA Rams or the Minnesota Vikings again. I just believe that although you have both of those teams' numbers recently, that luck has to run out eventually. To play the Minnesota Vikings a third time in this season is a lot to ask to beat them again. And then the history with Matt Stafford, Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, all the history there. To have him come back into Ford Field in the divisional round, I just don't think is a better outcome than what the Lions will have here. They now will face the Washington Commanders. I think they were the 6th seed. Lowest seed will then advance to face the highest seed in the divisional round, and that happens to be the Detroit Lions. And I just think that the Lions will benefit now in this case. The Washington Commanders, I believe, I wouldn't say struggled, but I thought, had their ups and downs against Tampa Bay in the wild card matchup. I think they stalled at times offensively. I thought their defense held up well against the Buccaneers, so there's certainly some things for the Lions to worry about, but I think overall the Lions match up well against the Commanders. It'll be interesting to see how they attack Jaden Daniels. That's obviously going to be the biggest concern in this matchup, is how the Lions contain Jaden Daniels, the rookie sensation quarterback. So that's really going to be our main focus as we get into this week, the divisional round week. We will do a full game preview, of course. We'll come back and preview this matchup between the Detroit Lions and Washington Commanders in the divisional round. It should be a very interesting matchup. It's been an interesting wild card weekend in a sense of really there hasn't been a lot of close games. This was the best game of, I thought, the wild card weekend so far. At this point of this recording, we still have the Minnesota Vikings and LA Rams game in Arizona to follow on Monday night, so we'll see what the outcome of that is. But we know that team will now travel to Philadelphia. Whoever the winner of that matchup is will travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. And again, that's why I just truly believe that it really benefits the Lions. It goes back to now the team that I didn't want to face, either one, Vikings or Rams, have to go to Philadelphia, have what will, I'm sure, be a tough divisional matchup on the road. Whoever comes out of that victorious has to go then to Detroit, and I think will really be as beat up as you possibly could ask for to head into what will hopefully be an NFC Championship game involving the Lions. Again, there's a lot to be said here. There's a game to play in the divisional round, and the Washington Commanders will have a lot to say about that matchup before we even talk about an NFC Championship game. But again, Lions will face the Commanders in the divisional round. Washington goes into Tampa Bay, upsets an experienced Bucs team on the road with a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, really fantastic here. Again, just really good statistically, led the charge, looked poised, didn't make any big mistakes, and that's really all you could ask for in a rookie quarterback here in a victory on the road. My true initial thoughts, Lions, Commanders, I think it should be interesting to see the Commanders offense square up against the Lions defense. And I've talked over and over again about how, we'll either get the Lions defense that played the 49ers in week 17 or the Lions defense that played the Vikings in week 18. And if we get that defense, I think they'll be able to hold down the Washington Commanders' weapons. But they have several, not only their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, but they have several receiving weapons as well. Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown had a huge game against the Buccaneers. I think he's somebody to look out for. Austin Eckler got involved as well. Zach Ertz was there as well. So, there's a lot of weapons the Lions are going to have to look out for, but I think they've prepared for better football teams here already this season, and they now will have the week off to get rested and prepare for the Commanders without having to worry about what's going on in this Monday night matchup as much as I thought they were going to have to do here. Again, I think one of the biggest things was the Baker Mayfield turnover. That was huge. The defense was able to get that play, force a turnover, and that was really one of the biggest plays of the game. But outside of that, I don't know if the Washington Commander defense will have enough against the Lions to hold them down. We've talked over and over again what the biggest Lions strength is, the offense in general, but the running game, the offensive line, play action. I just think that really will work against a lot of what Washington's defense will have to offer. They're going to have to put up a huge day against the Lions to hold them down. So again, it just goes back to, I think, the Lions having the edge most in this matchup. If it was going to be the Commanders, I think that's what I wanted to see, and I think the Lions will be happy with that. In other wild card action this weekend, we had the Houston Texans at home defeat the LA Chargers, and I just think it was kind of more lopsided than I would have expected. I had said that the Texans were kind of limping into the playoffs, the Chargers coming in on a higher note, but that just didn't play out in this game. I thought Houston sort of held LA in check. The offense for the Chargers just really couldn't get it going, and CJ Stroud finally started to get some things going after a slow start, and Houston ends up winning that game 32-12. Then you had the Baltimore-Pittsburgh matchup in Baltimore, and again, I thought Baltimore controlled that matchup really from start to finish, although I thought they could have gotten more offensively. I think they did certainly enough. 28-14, Baltimore comes out victorious there. And then you had Buffalo in control pretty much the entire game outside of that opening big play that Denver got, that big touchdown. Buffalo ends up winning that football game 31-7. Then you switch over to the NFC side. You had Philadelphia square off against Green Bay, and although Green Bay held on in there early, again, I thought Philadelphia really controlled start to finish. I just think Philly, although only had 22 points, I just think they look scary. There's a lot of offensive weapons there. Saquon Barkley looked good. Jalen Hurts sort of looked good coming off of his concussion stuff. So I think there's a lot there for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I just think everybody's sort of on a crash course, Lions and Philadelphia, in this NFC Championship game. But before we get there, of course, we had the Washington Commanders beat Tampa Bay. 23-20 was the final score there, of course, setting up the Detroit Lions against the Washington Commanders in the divisional round. Of course, have Philadelphia squaring off against the winner of Minnesota and the LA Rams coming up Monday night at 8 p.m. Monday Night Football there. And that's, of course, been moved to Arizona because of the unfortunate wildfires in California. And a quick preview for the Monday Night Football game, Minnesota Vikings, LA Rams. Again, this game was moved from LA to Arizona in lieu of the wildfires and obviously everything going on there. I think that probably favors Minnesota just slightly. I don't believe the LA stadium was any sort of pit hole or any sort of snake hole for any incoming team, but anytime you have home field advantage, I think gives you just that slight edge and comfort. So I think that will move LA out of that comfort and put them in a third-party designated stadium, and now they're sort of on equal ground. So we'll see sort of what the fan situation looks like in Arizona. Will it be now more Minnesota heavy because of that, or will it still lean in LA's favor? You got to also consider the fact that Minnesota's coming off of a tough matchup last weekend against the Lions, and historically any team that plays the Lions typically the following week tends to struggle. Most cases they end up losing those football games, and that was the case in the exact scenario that Minnesota finds them in here against LA. They had to travel, I don't know, or they had to play the LA Rams. I don't know if it was at home or away, to be honest with you up front, but they end up losing that football game to LA after losing to Detroit. So they have to overcome that same situation here on Monday night. And I think, unfortunately, that on top of the fact that I just think you still are asking a lot of Sam Darnold in a very, very big spot. He did not come up big in the Week 18 game, and I think you're in a bigger moment now in a on a one-and-done situation. If you can't get it done here, the Minnesota season is over. On the other side, you have Matt Stafford, extremely experienced Super Bowl winning quarterback, and you have a lot of weapons for LA. And I think it's going to be, although it's going to be a great matchup, Brian Flores against Sean McVay in the offense, I think, honestly, that the LA Rams come out on top. I think there's enough firepower there to overcome anything that the Minnesota offense is going to get out of Sam Darnold. And again, I think that the looming disaster of the Lions previous week heading into this week, I think, is something to consider. So with that all being said, I have the LA Rams coming out victorious. They would then travel to Philadelphia, and that should be an interesting matchup as we then prepare for the NFC Championship game. But it's been a fun wild card here so far. We know who the Lions will match up with in the divisional round. It'll be Lions Commanders. We'll see what happens Minnesota, LA, and then what will happen between those two teams and whoever plays Philadelphia. That's going to do it for today's video. Make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. I'd love it if you consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't already. We're on the road to 3,000 now, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss any future videos. I do have a membership option available. That's where I do all my live, my game play-by-plays, tier list, a ton of other fun stuff. But there's always free content here for you. More than anything else, take care of yourself and that mental health. I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Have a fantastic week ahead. Go Lions.